The second and final season of Arcane is actually 3 seasons in a trenchcoat. Not only fails to recapture the lightning in a bottle of season 1, but in only 9 episodes manages to assassinate pretty much every character and still finds the time to go back and ruin everything season 1 has previously established. If you wanted the TLDR, there you go, but I will ask you to stay and allow me to back up my claims. Arcane Season 2. Why Gorgeous and Empty? Hello, this is Future Me. Before we begin, I just wanted to apologize. I've only recently realized that I am not a native English speaker, and I don't know how that eluded me for so long. But in all seriousness, I'm sorry for any mistakes that you will totally hear, and I understand that my accent may be too thick. Let me tell you, talking to a microphone is so much different than having a conversation with a real human being, and I'll try to do better next time. Thank you. I have titled this video Gorgeous and Empty to remind myself of something that I take for granted far too often with this show. How good it looks. I cannot understate how much talent I feel there is in every frame, and I'm frankly frustrated that I don't have any artistic background or expertise to tell you more about it, so I simply won't. Unfortunately, that's already where the empty comes into play. All of this is pretty expensive and pretty time-consuming, and it looks like Netflix did not consider this a good investment, so we only got 2 seasons for a show that needed at least 3. I mean, I say that, but at the same time Netflix was already financing other League of Legends TV shows made by Fortiche, the same people who made Arcane. Also, when your show requires so much time to produce, it's imperative to have a story ready as quickly as possible, which has to be a gargantuan task when you have fewer writers left. Also, when your show is so expensive, it's probably going to be pretty hard to go back and redo scenes if you realize your plot doesn't work as intended. Also, all this waiting is going to make the general audience uninterested, and they're going to forget a lot of plot points. So now your script must also incorporate dialogue that reminds the audience without being too expository. So now you have essentially 2 choices. Squeeze 2 seasons into one and have a near-perfect script where each scene is advancing the plot in the most effective way with the least amount of wasted time, or make music videos. You can have music videos, of course, but when you need every single second of your runtime to advance the plot, maybe don't have as many? Do not use time that you don't have for music montages that say what a simple scene could have said better and in a shorter time. What is the message of the music montage at the start of episode 4? Months have passed, Jinx is still at large, she has now supporters and copycats. Caitlyn, the military ruler of Piltover, can't seem to catch her. Did we need more than a minute for that? Open the episode with a scene of Caitlyn in front of a statue or a landmark, whatever you want, that has been vandalized with pink and blue paint and the text 2 months later or something like that. She is clearly tired and frustrated and probably sleepless, and a subordinate asks her, "Do you think it was her or another copycat?" And she says something like, "It doesn't matter, they're all animals." The scene is mere seconds, and it tells you that time has passed, Jinx hasn't been captured yet, people imitate and support Jinx, and Caitlyn is still descending into xenophobia against Zonites. Music is a complicated subject. It can enhance a scene or completely take you out of it. It's also very personal, so music videos in season 1 were very hit or miss for me. They also felt self-indulgent, so when I liked them I will cheer with the creators, with the characters, with the show, and when I didn't like them I will simply think, yeah, you earned this, you can have it, enjoy it. I don't feel any of that for season 2, because the writing is too poor to earn any goodwill, and even the music montages actively hurt the characters. Not because of what they say, but because of what they imply. For example, in the same video we just talked about, 3 council members are now missing for months, including Salo. One of them is the inventor of Hextech, which is the only way Piltover can actually win against Zone if a war erupts. This person is also Ambessa's key to Noxian supremacy through Hextech. Another missing person is her only remaining daughter, since she already had her firstborn killed. Ambessa's key to Noxian supremacy through Hextech is also Caitlyn's best friend, Caitlyn just happens to be the most important person in Piltover, with Ambessa being the second one. Both Piltover and Zon should be upside down now, with rescue teams made of enforcers and Noxian soldiers. There should be investigations, interrogations, arrests, tortures, and a lot of secrecy, because you really don't want Zon to know you have lost your Hextech weaponry creator. Instead, we are told that Caitlyn is funneling all resources towards capturing Jinx, using an Iron Fist to crush Zonites. Piltover is oppressing Zonites, risking a war when they have no Hextech scientists anymore, neither one of them since Victor is also disappeared. You will think that poor people being oppressed because of the actions of a mentally ill terrorist who killed a bunch of politicians will easily sell her out. But that's your problem. You will think. That is not the case for the Riders though, which means the Chem Barons, the Fireflies and Sevika, all factions that have been against Jinx or hurt by her, basically don't exist anymore. By the way, in case you were wondering, the Fireflies are not looking everywhere for their leader Echo or their scientist Heimerdinger, who probably kinda improve life there quite a bit, so it's not like they're busy or anything. Instead we have Jinxers, people who worship Jinx because she once attacked Piltover with colorful gas, and then disappeared, letting Zon take the full brunt of the repercussions. Jinx is both vanished and freely roaming wherever she pleases in Zon, with her new friend Isha. Her face is plastered everywhere, to the point that Isha recognizes her as Jinx immediately, but her trained enforcers who's hunting her down for months doesn't. She's a symbol to the Zonites, but not enough for a single Zonite to follow Sevika, a known Jinx associate, and find Jinx. She lives in her same old lair, goes to the same old Silco's HQ, while all of these factions are interested in keeping tabs on her, and even more interested in selling her out, but Caitlyn still can't find her. All of this and more is heavily implied in a single music montage. So many characters, so many factions, ruined because these music videos are used as a "this is the situation now, just accept it." So please forgive me if I have PTSD every time I hear a French song and the art style changes. This is what the show says without saying, but there's also a lot that the show simply doesn't say. Due to time constraints, the show needs to frequently time skip for weeks and months, and between plot point A and plot point B, there's a lot that cannot be explored. A lot of narrative elements that are ripe for drama. Arcane Season 2 made me think of a new term called narrative potential. At least I think it's new, but I just could be wrong and ignorant. What I mean by narrative potential is the inherent capacity for a story element to be explored. For example, Episode 1. Silco, effectively the leader of Zon, is dead. Jinx has killed him, and then she has killed some Piltover's council members in a terrorist attack. Kate and Vi are the only ones who know about Silco's death so far. What do? Their goal, I assume, is to avoid a war at all costs. So will they tell the remaining council members about Silco's death? If you have two factions at odds, on the brink of war, would you tell one of them that the other faction has just been heavily destabilized by losing its leader? Surely they will strike quickly and without mercy to capitalize on such disarray. Yes, you could say that having just survived a terrorist attack could destabilize Piltover's politicians as well, but wouldn't that make them feel more justified in swift retribution? Especially when they have a Noxian warmonger sitting right next to them, eager to escalate the conflict. Vi and Kate are in a pickle here. Will they try to keep the information secret as long as possible, even betraying Piltover? How long can they withhold the truth before Zon finds Silco's corpse and blames it on Piltover? Zon's leader pushes for the city's independency and he ends up dead in a ditch? Sevika's inner grief could believe this is Piltover's doing and unite all Chem Barons under her new banner and stop them from tearing each other apart. This will be war now, while Kate and Vi, being representatives for each city, try to avoid it. At the end, Sevika could find the truth about Silco and do something reckless. This will be a whole season by itself. Don't get me wrong, there are inklings of this, but none of this is explored. It's implied Vi and Kate immediately told everything, they had no moral dilemma about it, and Sevika never got to know the truth. Another example of wasted narrative potential is Warwick. The monster is actually just someone you know and love. If you just wanted a monster, you'd have a monster. The narrative potential of having the monster being a loved one is the possible avenues for drama. You have the characters interact, fight, slowly have them discover the monster's true identity until you have the shocking reveal. Both audience and character realize at the same time. You can have that if the reveal comes within the first scene of these characters interacting. You can have Darth Vader reveal his identity to Luke the first time they meet. You can have Luke save Anakin from the dark side in their second encounter, and then turn Anakin into Darth Vader again in the third because the Emperor did sciencey magic on him. The point of this trope is for true love to save the day. You still have the monster die, but they find redemption through death. Anakin could never survive the trilogy because that ruins the happy ending. Is he still happy if after the marriage Leia and Luke have to witness their father being executed for his war crimes? Or if they can only see him in jail for the rest of his life? There's no redemption for that kind of actions, but death. But Warwick is too beloved of a champion, so you can't kill him. You also can't make him Vander again because that brings too many uncomfortable questions. What will be life in that body? Are you even human anymore? Do you want to fuck people or wolves? Why did I go immediately there? You get my point. So why even doing all of this trope if you're not committing to it? Because we needed an excuse for Vi and Jinx to make peace, so that Jinx could die a hero, which she isn't. We had to create Isha, which is a John Wick's dog trope by herself, so that she could soften up Jinx enough. Then we needed to create Warwick Vander, so that this new softer Jinx would want to save him, so that she could die in a heroic sacrifice, but not really. We had to create 2 useless things to get to a 3rd useless thing, completely out of character because audiences love Jinx. All of this while only having 9 episodes. But characters acting out of character is what you get when you have no time. Even if these people came to a realization that changed their worldview, you wouldn't know, because that happens off screen. I loved Kate in season 1. Smart and capable person who is not defined by being born into a rich, wealthy family. She's a go-getter. She doesn't play by the rules of her posh society. I really wish we had her in season 2. Instead, we have an emotional abuser who gaslights her partner into wearing the uniform of the people who bashed her mother's skull into a fine paste. And she makes said partner gas her own people with chemical weapons because according to Kate, that's easier or something. If this wasn't enough, we are told by clunky exposition no less, that this emotional abuser who's wearing Caitlyn's skin also went behind Vi back and forced the enforcers to hire Vi without her consent, by threatening them to withdraw any donation from the Kiramans family. Now, generally speaking, rich people who have the police in the palm of their hands are the villains in the story. And you might argue, Caitlyn is a villain in this season, so it makes sense. Yes, you are correct. But she isn't one now, not to this extent, and I would even say that she never becomes one. Her actions are villainous. She's never truly justified because there's a disconnect in what she suffered versus what she does for revenge. But she isn't a villain. The story doesn't think so. The writers don't think so. Authors have clear ways to deal with villains. Either the character realizes what they're doing is wrong and seeks redemption, again, Darth Vader, or they keep being villains and the writers punish them and their actions through story. Villains ultimately don't win because the writers want to send a message that being villainous is not the right path. Caitlyn never gets punished for any of that. She becomes Hextech Hitler, there are no consequences for her actions, and she gets by. If you're going to say, well, that's not true, she lost an eye, that is not a direct consequence of her actions as a dictator, that's a pathetic attempt at having a theme of sacrifice that I will mention later, don't worry. Kate never apologizes. The story doesn't think she has done anything wrong, or simply doesn't have the time to explore that. And almost poetically, one of the characters that suffered the most about the lack of time is Echo. We have 1 bottle episode for Echo to get his powers, actually half of it, so we have to throw him into an alternate timeline and please the Echo Jinx shippers. We don't even have time to entertain the moral dilemma of Echo possessing another's Echo body and using that body to kiss Powder, who is unaware of the switcheroo. We are going so fast that we managed to completely disregard 2 people's consent in 1 kiss. Even Wonder Woman 84 is blushing right now. Heimerdinger had 3 years in the body of another Heimerdinger. He put another being into spiritual coma and is fine and dandy with it. You might say, well, it's not like they can do anything about it. And again, you're right. But even if that's the case, it doesn't matter. They should be outright devastated by the implication of them possessing other people's bodies. Heroes care about these things, and above all, heroes don't fucking use your body to sacrifice themselves. The show isn't interested in nuanced topics, or even just new ones. Lots of scenes reek of insecurity and are as deep as a puddle. When the funeral is interrupted by a Zonet attack, my first thought was, yeah, of course. Ambessa has probably given them information and resources so she can escalate the conflict and offer herself as a solution, being a war general and everything. And that was my first thought because, well, I have experienced other medias in my life and I never poked my hippocampus with a hot nail. So I retained the information. So when Mel says something like, they must have help, and the camera stops on Ambessa's reaction, I thought, it was a red herring, of course. They want me to think Ambessa did it because that's exactly how she will act. Maybe someone wanted to frame her and knew that Mel would immediately identify this is Ambessa's modus operandi. They're brewing conflict so they can... No, it was Ambessa. Oh, it's Ambessa, she did it. Fuck off. The show just wanted to make sure you understood this complicated plot point because it may be too intelligent for you. I wish I could tell you that when they're not busy writing such deep and intricate plot developments, the writers deliver some good dialogue, but I'd be lying. Every episode is full of clunky exposition and shallow analogies. Chief among them is Ambessa's describing Noxus' triangle of strength as a geometrical shape with 6 sides plus one she had just discovered. I would argue that the scene aims to hit 3 points. Expand the world of Runeterra by introducing the audience to Noxian values, show us that Ambessa is becoming a motherly figure for Caitlyn after losing 2 children, and foreshadow the concept of sacrifice that will be relevant later when Kate has to sacrifice an eye to defeat Ambessa. Oh look, it's a triangle. That's how you do it. Only a couple million things are wrong with that. Like I said, Ambessa not knowing what a triangle is hilarious. Ambessa caring about Kate, whether it being true or faked, had no time to grow on us, because Ambessa has no reaction to losing her last remaining daughter, probably to the same organization who slaughtered their son, and whatever next show will revolve around Noxus has no bearing on the here and now. So fuck off with your Age of Ultron being used as an ad for future Marvel project bullshit. What you're left with is a very shallow concept of sacrifice that could be avoided if Kate had simply shot Ambessa with a bullet. She has one arm with anti-Hextech runes, shoot her with a gun for fuck's sake. Or I guess just go in hand-to-hand combat with an Noxian warmonger who taught you everything you know about fighting in hand-to-hand combat. In conclusion, Arcane Season 2 is very much of a case of knowing where you want it to end and doing none of the legwork to get there. These story beats are fine in a vacuum, but needed more time to be justified. The art style is still absolutely stunning, but the writing took a deep dive from both a narrative perspective and just from a prose perspective. The dialogue is clunky, long-winded, and it reeks of first draft. And if you have been listening to this video so far, you know that I know what I'm talking about, because I do not possess the gift of brevity or decent line reading. Characters, places, and story are burned by the breakneck speed of the plot, that seems only interested in being an ad for future shows and fanfiction. If you like this season, I do not understand your standards. If you have better standards than I do, just tell me, please. I want to have the best possible methodology when it comes to everything, actually. But if your standard is, art is just subjective, bro, or that's just nitpicking, and yo, I got to see my boy Warwick, let's go, they be cooking with this one. I can tell you already we don't have much in common, but I thank you for watching this video to this point. Although I believe you'll probably find more joy with channels that already agree with your point of view. And you won't find a shortage of those, cause liking things is pretty profitable for a YouTuber. I would love to have a more thorough analysis of this season, but it will require me to go through each episode scene by scene. And I will do it. I am not a YouTuber, I have a job in the quote-unquote real world, so when I ask you for your feedback I mean it. I get no money from this, so I have no need for engagement. I want your advice because I really want to do better, so write anything you want. Even if you want to tell me what a pompous ass I am, or that my accent tells you like getting permaganked by a jungler, go for it. Until next time, please pretend that I said something very YouTubery to close this video. Arcane Season 2. Ah, fuck, I missed. So please forgive me if I have PTSD every time I... You can do this, man. Ambessa has probably given them information and resources so she can escalate the conflict and offer herself as a solution. We had to create 2 useless things to get to a 3rd useless thing. Why can't I say thing? It's a thing. Fuck off.